At the end of the day, some people are like, we're in a tough situation where you're not going to be right on either side, right? And you have to be comfortable with the fact that if you're going to lead in the midst of crisis, which is essentially what anybody serving right now is doing, that there's some people that are going to be happy and there's some people that are not. And so for us, what we grounded our decisions in is what's going to be best for children. Um, and sometimes that you know made some people happy, sometimes it did not. And we kept coming back to what's best for children, what's best for children. So, like as you mentioned, screen time, and not even just screen time. Some kids um, come from situations where they don't have a parent to make them get on a screen. And what's going to happen to that child's learning, right? Think about that being a second grader that's going to third grade, and which I mean, my kid was second grader going to third grade. But think about it being a second grader going to third grade that didn't have somebody or doesn't have somebody that's going to hold them accountable to learning. What's going to happen, after they've been out since March, and let's just say they're in this situation. We're in this situation all first semester. That's almost a year of learning during arguably one of your more critical years of learning. How does that? What does that do for the trajectory of that child? So we saw a larger responsibility, in regards to trying to overcome, some of the challenges. And I don't explain away. Try not to. That there's we're in a moment where everybody's got friction. We're in a moment of discomfort as a nation. If I'm speaking very candidly, we've got racial discourse at a level, and the racial unrest really at a level that it's never been. Right? You've got a very challenging political climate evolving, in particular as you go into the presidential election cycle. In the midst of that, you got a pandemic and an economy that's challenged as a result. So you take those three things, any one of those three things, right? Any one of those three: racial unrest, pandemic, and a very, very politically charged presidential election. Any one of those three is enough to send our country or any community into a challenge moment. In our country and community, we're having to deal with all three at the same exact time. And so, you've got families and households that, have lost their job as a result of the pandemic, that are dealing with, maybe moments of racial injustice. And at the very same time, every time I can cut on my news and one station says the world is doing this, another station says the world is doing that, and I sit there and say, what is the world doing? So we have to be the sense makers, you know what I mean? We have to say what's best for children, and kind of say, let's wipe everything that's going on in the country to the side. We are in the midst of a pandemic. Okay, this is serious. Let's educate ourselves on what's going on. Let's pull in medical professionals so that we can really understand. And then it becomes a larger conversation about the learning for children and mental health components and how do we get kids educated. So, again, we don't explain away the discomfort. There's discomfort, I think, for everybody in this season. And so whether it's a sign-on, which we've tried to respond to from the standpoint of acquiring a single sign-on, or our teachers who are putting forth an heroic effort to manage a group of HCS at home students while I've got a group of on-campus students in the classroom. We're in unprecedented times, for sure.